Cricket fans in Sri Lanka, in the Caribbean and all around the world, this is At the Crease with Kieran Powell. Catchers win matches, just like they dropped the catch of Dimuth Karunaratne. How costly that was. Sri Lanka in their first innings scored 386 runs at the back of a brilliant century by Dimuth Karunaratne and of course magnificent 50s by Pathum Nissanka and of course Dhananjay De Silva. At that point of time, people would have questioned whether that score 386 is enough for Sri Lanka. However, the problem is for the West Indies, they have actually the trio, the spin trio of Sri Lanka, Praveen Jayavikrama, Lasith Ambuldeniya and of course Pramesh Mendis have done the job for Dimuth Karunaratne. West Indies for 113 runs for the loss of 6 wickets. And I've got two main special guests on our show today. I've got Vindana Prasad Karunaratne on our show, a renowned journalist, and of course the West Indies cricketing legend or a star, Kieran Powell. Thank you very much both the gentlemen for coming onto the show today. Kieran, 113 ලකුණු wicket 6යි. දුකයිද?
හරි දුකයි. Can we pull up the pitch report?
Yes, absolutely. We've got the pitch report pulled up for Kieran here. This is Farvis Maroof at the start of the play, giving the pitch report.
Now, from yesterday's play, we know that there would have been a lot of deterioration through the pitch from bowlers running on the pitch, left-handers, right-handers. That would play into Sri Lanka's hand, as well as said that the toss was very important in this match. Sri Lanka wanted to get through as much time today as possible. Time was more important than runs, and at the end of yesterday, I said that Sri Lanka would be targeting anywhere between 350
runs, yes,
to 400. They ended up getting 380, which gave them time to allow the pitch to deteriorate some more, giving the spin bowlers more footmarks to bowl into. The West Indies seamers coming over the wicket to the right-handers. On a good length, you'd have that rough on either side coming around to Dimuth Karunaratne, who batted for a long time. So the Sri Lankan off-spinner, Mendis, would have had some rough here to work with coming back into the West Indies right-handers, and the left-arm spinners would be targeting the clips of the edges of the rough from the seamers coming over the wicket to the right-handers. Hence, you would have seen them bowling this angle, bowling wide on the crease, trying to target there and get into ball to spin away.
I would like to take the bat and show us, how a left-handed batsman would play and where would these roughs will be created for them to generate that turn.
So again, it all depends on whether it's a left-hand spinner or an off-spinner. The off-spinners would be bowling around the wicket and trying to angle the ball in, so you'd actually be getting the good part of the pitch as a left-handed batter. But what you don't want to do, because the ball is spinning so much, you don't want to be coming here. As you saw, Dimuth Karunaratne did not play many balls like this throughout his innings. He either stayed on the back foot, cleared his front leg and gave himself room to access the ball, or he played little paddle sweeps to try and offset the lengths of the West Indian bowlers, which would then force them to bowl shorter, and he could either go back, cut, punch, or work the ball through the leg side.
That was almost it was the downfall of Dimuth Karunaratne. They dropped a catch when he was trying to cut the ball, isn't it?
Exactly, but then he quickly figured it's not a pitch where you want to be hitting the ball too square. So he, after that, kept the ball in front, presenting a fuller face of the bat, reducing the chances of getting out.
ප්‍රේක්ෂක හැටියට මොනවද හිතන්නේ ඔය 386 ලකුණු 113යි විකට් 6යි බටහිරින් දෙකෝ කණ්ඩායම.
මම හිතන්නේ ප්‍රේක්ෂකයෙක් හැටියට ගත්තොත් මාටින් මේක අපිට හොඳ ස්කෝර් එකක්. මේ විකට් එකේ සමහර විට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ නැතුව ඇති කියන්නේ මේ තනතිරුව සකස් කරද්දී තිබිච්ච කාලගුණික තත්වයක් එක්ක මේ වගේ වියලි කාලගුණික තත්වයක් අපිට ලැබේවි කියලා. කොහොම නමුත් අපි ඒක තමයි මාටින් තනතිරුව තුල දකින්නේ. විශේෂයෙන්ම අර පන්දුව දඟ කැවෙනවට වඩා අපි දැන් දකිනවා පොඩි දූවිලි ස්වභාවයක් විකට් එකේ. ඉතින් මේකත් එක්ක හෙට සහ අනිද්දා දිනය තරමක් තීරණාත්මක වෙන්නට පුළුවන්. අනිත් විශේෂත්වය තමයි ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ සිටින නිත්‍ය දඟ පන්දු යවන්න. ලසිත් ඇඹුල්දෙනියට නෙමෙයි අද දවසේදී වැඩිපුර වාසියක් අත් වෙන්නේ රමේෂ් මෙන්ඩිස් තමයි කඩලු 3ක් දවා ගන්න. ඉතින් මේ හේතුව අපි දකින්නේ අර වැඩිපුර දඟ කවන පන්දු යවන්නට වඩා විශේෂත්වය තමයි අර අපි කියනවා unpredicted. එහෙම නැත්නම් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි පන්දු යවන්නේ හැටියට උපයෝගී කරගන්න පුළුවන් පිටිකරුවෙක් පාවිච්චි කරද්දී ඒ පිටිකරුවා යම්කිසි විදිහකට මේ විකට් එකේ ඔහුගේ පන්දුව දඟ කැවීම වඩාත් හොඳින් අනෙක් නිත්‍ය දඟ පන්දු යවන්නට වඩා යෝග්‍ය විදිහට පාවිච්චි කරපු විදියක් අපි දැක්කේ. රමේෂ් කඩළු 3ක් දවා ගන්නවා. එකම ප්‍රවීන් ජයවික්‍රමත් හොඳින් පීඩනයක් ලබා දෙනවා. නමුත් ලසිත් ඇඹුල් දෙනිය තමයි අපේ දඟ පන්දු යවන්න හැටියට ස්ථිර වශයෙන්ම කටයුතු කරන්නේ. ඌට අපි විකට් වැටෙනවා දැක්කේ නැහැ. නමුත් හෙට සහ අනිද්දා දිනය බොහෝ දුරට අද දින වලට වඩා ලසිත් ඇඹුල් දෙනියට වඩා හොඳ දිනයක් වෙන්නට පුළුවන්.
බින්දන මොනවද කිව්වේ කියලා තේරෙනවද?
ටක් තේරෙනවා.
All right, let's get into the business end. Dimuth Karunaratne played a magnificent innings today, isn't it, Kieran?
Well, he started yesterday. One thing with Dimuth, he's always very composed. He lets the bowlers come to him. He builds his game around how he wants to play as opposed to how the opposition want him to play. One thing you'd realize with Dimuth as well, he's not very still at the crease. He's either coming at the bowlers, trying to eliminate the areas that they're trying to bowl in, or he's hanging back. And as I said, he's very strong square of the wicket either side. So he sticks to those strengths and makes the bowlers come at him so he can hit the ball in areas that he wants to hit it.
Now, Dimuth Karunaratne has been extremely consistent in the test match arena. He looked like, he has been playing test cricket, all these 7 months. The last time that he played a match was against Bangladesh. That was about 7 months ago, but did score 250 runs. And it looks like he's playing on a different type of a deck, isn't it?
Experience is something that you can't get at the supermarket. Dimuth has got a wealth of experience. Sri Lankan captain, very comfortable with his game, very comfortable with his position in the team, and that allows him to go out and express himself, play the way that he wants to play, and he's been a really good leader for Sri Lanka over the past few years.
Now, Dhananjay De Silva's innings. Now, at the close of play yesterday, Sri Lanka were 260 odd runs for the loss of 3 wickets and ended up with 381 runs only. But Dhananjay De Silva and Pathum Nissanka scored half century. Thereafter, we did not see anyone, going on to big scores.
I don't think that you can say it's only 381 runs after closing on 260, because if you look at Dhananjay's dismissal, for example, that's very unfortunate. It's not as though he gave his wicket away. He ball bounced up, couldn't get contact with it, didn't know where exactly the ball was, and it's a very difficult pitch for batters to get in. As I said, this pitch is a pitch that makes the game accelerate very quickly because it deteriorates very quickly. So 381 on this pitch is more of a 500, 550 in different conditions. So Sri Lanka will be feeling very comfortable and confident with this score.
And obviously, you said yesterday 350 runs if Sri Lanka could get into, they'll be in the driving seat.
Exactly, and they know this as well. Having played at this ground, this is one of their favorite hunting grounds, and this ground is also one of the leading grounds for Sri Lankan spinners to perform well. They've got 3 spinners in this team that have all come to the party already in terms of taking wickets and contributing to the West Indies having lost 6 wickets in a session and a half already.
ලකුණු 100ක් ගන්න තිබ අවස්ථාව ගිලීගේ නේ.
ඔව් අනිත් එක තමයි මාටින් දැන් ධනංචය සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ හිට් විකට් එහෙම නැත්නම් Tamanගේ පිත්ත හරි පන්දුව විකට් එකේ වද්ද ගන්නවා කියන එක හරිම දුලබ වශයෙන් සිදුවන කාරණාවක්. නමුත් ශ්‍රී ලංකික පිතිකරුවන් 6 දෙනෙක් මේ ආකාරයට දැවී ගිහිල්ලා තිනවා. ඉන් අවස්ථා දෙකක් සටහන් වෙන්නේ ධනංචය ඩි සිල්වා අද සහ මීට පෙර තරඟයකදීත් ඔහු මේ ආකාරයෙන්ම හිට් විකට් වෙනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් තමා විසින්ම පන්දුව කඩුල්ල වෙත දමා ගන්නවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔහු පිටිකරුවගේ පාදය වදින්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් පිත්ත වදින්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔහු අතේ තිබෙන යම්කිසි උපකරණයක්, ඒ කියන්නේ ග්ලව් එකක් වගේ හෙල්මට් එකක් විකට් එකට වැටෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේ ඕනම අවස්ථාවක හිට් විකට් වීමක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ලංකාවේ එහෙම ක්‍රීඩකින් 6 දෙනෙක් ක්‍රීඩා පිටින් ඉවත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඉන්න අවස්ථා දෙකක් සටහන් වෙන්නේ මේ ධනංචය ඩි සිල්වාගේම තමයි.
ඒ දත්ව මංගාවත් තිබ්බ වෙන්නේ. Now let's look at how Roston Chase, is he a part-time bowler or a full-time bowler? What was the thought process behind this?
Roston Chase is a proper cricketer. That's the best way I can describe him. He's able to contribute to the team's need, whatever that is at any point in time. If you look at the CPL, no one would expect that Roston Chase would be the leading run scorer in a T20 tournament. Came out in flying colours, does well in one-day cricket. Give him the ball, he got a 5-wicket haul and a century on debut for West Indies in Test cricket against India. So Roston Chase is someone with a lot of experience and someone that the West Indies depends on a lot to add assistance to Rakeem Cornwall. But this is also his 4th Test 5-wicket haul. And if you look at how Roston Chase bowls, he's very smart. He's not as a big turner of the ball, he's not a big drifter of the ball, but he always puts it in good areas in front of the batsman consistently and builds pressure that way. And then he gets enough of bounce, enough spin on certain occasions to get him wickets.
Absolutely. අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ රොස්ටන් චේස් විකට් ගනී කියලා දනවා.
ඔව් බොහෝම අවස්ථාවක දැන් අනිත් කාරණාව තමයි මාටින් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායමේ අවසන් කඩලු 4 හෝ 5 බිඳ වැටෙන්නේ ලකුණු 31ක් වගේ අඩු ලකුණු සංඛ්‍යාවකදී. දිනේෂ් චන්දිමාල් ඒ වගේම අපි දකින්නේ ධනංජයගෙන් පස්සේ අනෙක් කිසිදු පිටිකරුවෙකුට Tamanගේ කඩුල්ල ආරක්ෂා කරගැනීමෙන් මේ ලකුණු සංඛ්‍යාව ලකුණු 400 සීමාවට ගේන්නට පුළුවන් වුණා නම් මීට වඩා පීඩනයක් කොදෙව්වන්ට දෙන්නට තිබුණා. කොහොම නමුත් ශ්‍රී ලංකා පිටිකරුවන් දිමුත් ඒ වගේම ධනංජය ඉන් අනතුරුව දිනේෂ් චන්දිමාල් දැවියාමෙන් අනතුරුව අපි දකින්නේ නැහැ පිටිකරුවන් ලකුණු රැස් කරලා තවදුරටත් මේ පීඩනය කොදෙව්වන්ට ලබා දෙන්නට ගන්නා උත්සාහයක්. කොහොම නමුත් ඒ නිසා තමයි මාටින් මං දකින මං විශ්වාස කරන සහ අපට වැඩිපුරම කියන්නට වෙන්නේ අර පිටිකරුවන් නොවන ක්‍රීඩකින් පන්දු යවන්නන් බැට් කරන්න විකට් එකට ආවම ඕනම පන්දු යවන්නෙකුට එරෙහිව මේ පීඩනය ක්‍රීඩා පිටිය තුළ ගොඩනැගෙන්නට පුළුවන්. ඒක තමයි අපි දැක්කේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා ඉනිමේ අවසන් භාගයේ ලකුණු 31කට මේ වගේ කඩලු සංඛ්‍යාවක් ලැබීමත් එක්ක.
This is how the Sri Lankan spinners bowled the West Indies batsmen. They were struggling.
You look at the initial length that the West Indies spinners bowled, which are the white dots. Good length. Sri Lankan spinners, they started a bit too full. Once they found that length and pulled it back, it was able to create a lot of problems for the West Indian batters, because then you didn't know whether to go forward or to go back. West Indian batters ended up getting caught in between, either forward or back, and that's what caused all the problems for them, not being able to adjust to get right to the pitch of the ball or letting it spin and then hitting it after it spun. So that's where the Sri Lankan spinners made a brilliant adjustment. I think as well, the use of the crease from the Sri Lankan spinners, going a bit wider on the crease, sometimes creating that angle for the West Indian spinners, that deception, and then coming a bit straighter, but then pulling the length back and floating it a bit more, making you think it's there, but it's just a bit further back from you, helped in deceiving a lot of the West Indian batters today.
Jeremy Warrican is a left-arm spinner, and obviously West Indies cricket team would have got a lot of practice from Jeremy Warrican bowling, but still stumbled against this type of world-class bowling.
There are different types of left-arm spinners. Now, the way that Jomel Warrican bowls is different to how Lasith Embuldeniya bowls. Warrican undercuts the ball, which is something that you'd expect.
You can explain is using the ball.
So Warrican undercuts lots of his balls. So the ball hits the seam lots of the time. Embuldeniya actually throws the ball up. So he gets lots of revs on it. Plus he's got an additional rough. He's had a day and a half for the pitch to deteriorate. So where Warrican would have not been working with as much in terms of getting assistance from the pitch, Embuldeniya's got home advantage. It's a ground that he's actually been one of the leading Sri Lankan spinners in terms of one of his favorite hunting grounds as well. So he knows the conditions inside out, and it was just a matter of him getting used to getting back into his rhythm, not having played cricket for 7 months.
And it's a special thing with now back in the days we used to have Muthaiya Muralidharan. He used to like make Gaul Cricket Stadium as a fortress. You know, nobody could breach when Muthaiya Muralidharan bowling, and followed by Rangana Herath. දැන් ඇවිල්ලා ලසිත් ඇඹුල්දෙනිය ඉන්නවා. ඊට අමතරව අපි ගාව ඉන්නවා ප්‍රවීන් ජයවික්‍රම. ඔවුන්ගේ පන්දු යම ගැන ඔබේ අදහස?
ඔව් අපි මම අර කලින් සඳහන් කරන කාරණාවම තමයි මාටින් දැන් ලසිත් ඇඹුල්දෙනියට අද දවසේ විකට් ආවේ නැති වුණාට කයිරන් සඳහන් කරපු විදිහට ඔහු මේ ක්‍රීඩාංගණයේ මේ තනතිරුව තුළ සියලු තොරතුරු දන්නවා. මේ විකට් එක කොහොමද හැසිරෙන්නේ, එහෙම නැත්නම් මේකේ කොච්චර තනකොළ ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙනවද, කොයි ඉසව්වලටද පන්දුව පිටිකරුවෙකුට පීඩනයක් ගෙන දෙනවා නම් යොමු කරන්නට ඕනේ. ඒ පීඩනය හරහා තමයි අපි කියන්නේ පාර්ට් ටයිම් බෝලර් කෙනෙක් හැටියට අපි රමේෂ් මෙන්ඩිස්ව පාවිච්චි කරා නම් අද දවසේදී ඔහුට කඩුළු ගන්නට වඩාත්ම පහසුවක් සහ අවස්ථාවක් ලැබෙන්නේ ප්‍රවීන් ජයවික්‍රම ඒ වගේම ලසිත් ඇඹුල්දෙනිය ගොඩනංවන පීඩනය යම්කිසි විදිහකට රමේෂ් තමන්ගේ පන්දුව දඟ කැවීම සහ හොඳ ගුඩ් ලෙන්ත් අපි කියනවා පිටිකරුවන්ට පීඩනයක් ගෙන දෙමින් විකට් එකක් ගන්නට පුළුවන් විදිහට කඩුල්ල අවට ක්‍රීඩකින් විශේෂයෙන්ම පොයින්ට් ක්‍රීඩකින් සූදානම් කළ අපි දැක්ක උඩ පන්දු කිහිපයක් රැක ගන්න ආකාරය. ඉතින් මේ පීඩනය තමයි අපි දැක්කේ ලසිත් ඇඹුල්දෙනිය කියන්නේ ඉතාමත්ම දක්ෂ දඟ පන්දු යවන්නෙක්. නමුත් ඔහුට දැන් පීඩනයක් තිබෙනවා Tamanගේ සහායක පන්දු යවන්නන් දෙන්නගෙන්. ඉතින් මේ හරහා ඔහුට තව දුරටත් කඩුළු ලබා ගැනීමේ අවශ්‍යතාවය සහ පීඩනය දැනෙද්දී ඔහුත් කඩුළු ලබා ගන්නට වැඩි අවස්ථාවක් උදා කර ගනීවි.
පළවෙනි විකට්ටුව ලබා ගත්තේ ලසිත් ඇඹුල්දෙනිය අතරම. ඔහුගේ විකට්ටුව තමයි එක LBW එකක් අතරම කයිරන්.
Now, the important thing about this dismissal is because Jermaine Blackwood was set up by Lassith Mbildenia, and Blackwood would know this, and I'm sure he'd be very disappointed with this tonight, because the dangerous ball and on pitches that are spinning this sharply is not actually the one that turns, because if you hold the line, it's generally going to spin past your bat,
Yes.
as you saw on numerous occasions today.
Absolutely.
He knew that Mbildenia was trying to draw him across the crease, to get that ball to keep straight on and get him LBW. And unfortunately for Blackwood, that's what happened, and Mbildenia opened up his account very early today.
Can you actually remember? If the ball is going to, when you play the ball, actually, if it's going to turn away or it's going to come in? Whether will you have that presence of mind in yourself? You know, always in your mind. Okay, it's going to turn away, so you have to bat it the line.
It's sometimes natural variation. So Mbildenia could have meant for that ball to spin just like any other ball, but it just went straight on. Or it could have actually been a straight ball. He would be the only person that would be able to tell us that. But what we do know is that he got it in the right area and beat that inside edge of Jermaine Blackwood, who was playing for that ball just to spin away slightly, which would have hit probably the middle of the bat, looking at where the bat is. But going straight on, those fractional margins in terms of spinning, going straight on, make the big difference in terms of Blackwood not being there.
Now I want to ask a question. A lot of viewers must be watching this particular telecast on, you're basically giving a lesson of how to play spin bowling here. Now, as long as you keep the bat just within your pad and just leave all the deliveries that's going to go outside, you know, just to keep it, would that be fine to play spin bowling?
Not necessarily, because at the end of the day, you're still looking to score. So you have to figure out your scoring areas first things first, and then you figure out what you don't want to play at and how you're going to defend your stumps. Jermaine Blackwood is someone that we all know he's going to hit the ball down the ground. So when they came on, they pitched up a few balls, he took his scoring opportunities. They pulled the length back. I think he maybe would have been able to get back to that ball. Again, if it spun past, it's still going to beat your bat anyway. So you're giving yourself that bit of extra time to see the ball, see what it's going to do off the pitch, and play it late. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have played lots of cricket for Tamil Union, so I know the Sri Lankan conditions and the Sri Lankan bowlers and what they're trying to do as well. So I've got insider information if you like.
බෝලේ පොඩ්ඩක් දෙන්න. මාටින් මාත් බෝලේ අතාරියවි කියලා පොඩ්ඩක් පල්ලෙහාට දැම්මනේ.
ඇත්තටම මං ඇවිල්ලා
මාටින් හොඳ ෆීල්ඩ් එකෙක්ද? කැච් එක අතාරියා ෆස්ට් ටයිම්.
Honda field නෑ.
හොඳ ෆීල්ඩ් නෙවෙයිනේ.
කවුරු වගේද? ඊයේ කැච් එක ඩ්‍රොප් කරපු එක්කෙනා වගේද?
Honda field. මට Honda field.
Let's look at the highlights of the innings of Sri Lanka in the third. Basically, Sri Lanka had now we looked at Lasith Mbildenia bowling here, and we spoke about. Now, I just want to speak about Ramesh Mendis at this point of time as well. Like, you know, Vindana pointed out, Ramesh Mendis. Nobody expected Ramesh Mendis to be the highest wicket taker at the end of the day's play.
I actually thought that Ramesh Mendis was brought into the attack a bit too late. There was a period in time where Ramesh Mendis and Mbildenia and Jaya Wickrama were bowling together, and Ramesh Mendis was out of the attack. I felt that was a bit too same, and the West Indian batters were allowed to get used to facing both left-arm spinners, so you already know, okay, this is what you need to protect. Now, once you have that variety in an off spinner and the left-arm spinner, at one end you're having to cover the outside edge, on the other you're having to cover the inside edge. So it's always a change, you're never able to just adjust. And as we saw, he came in, got early breakthroughs because he provided that level of variety into the attack which Sri Lanka probably needed. I also thought that Sri Lanka could have been a bit more aggressive in their field sets, because if the West Indies had batted first and had 380 on the board, I can promise you that they would have had 2 men around the bat or a man in front and 2 slips to not allow the batter to just comfortably come forward with the man on the leg side with the ball spinning that much. So I think those are a few mistakes that Sri Lanka made that allowed West Indies to get settled into their innings as well.
6 wickets have gone by West Indies, 6 for 113. And I said Sri Lanka will have to bat only once in this test match. Is it going to be the case?
Well, given the current position that the West Indies are in, 113 for 6, it's looking that way now. But the West Indies have also got two very good and very capable batters in. Both have a higher score of in excess of 200 runs in Test cricket, Jason Holder and Kyle Mayers. Kyle Mayers as recently as last year. So the key for the West Indies now would be to take things hour by hour, session by session. Try and get as deep as possible. If the West Indies are batting at tea tomorrow, because we know West Indians will score quickly once they get in, once they get set, then the West Indies will have at least 270 runs on the board, which would put Sri Lanka under pressure to know what would be a good score to get going into the second innings. Now, likewise, Sri Lanka will also want to strike early and get the remaining 4 wickets and put the West Indies back into bat and try and get way ahead of the game so that they can try and finish the West Indies off below their 386 runs.
I'll make a prediction right now. Let's see whose prediction is going to work. Now, Sri Lanka are going to bat second, and they're going to put up a big target for the West Indies, even despite they dismiss West Indies for 113 runs. What's your prediction?
I don't think Sri Lanka will bat again if they can restrict West Indies below the follow-on. I don't think that they need to bat again because the pitch is not getting any better, and you also want to take confidence into the second test match. You don't want to go into the second test match having batted again unnecessarily. A few batters not getting a score and then getting out cheaply again and going into the second test match with low confidence. So they would probably ride that high and try and get West Indies out second innings.
So what are your thoughts? Tomorrow, first session tomorrow's day 3 will be crucial for the bowlers?
First session is crucial for both teams. That first hour is the most important thing. The West Indies need to get through that first hour without losing a wicket. Sri Lanka need to at least break this partnership. You've only got wicketkeeper Joshua De Silva to come as another recognised batter, and then you're into the 2 bowlers. So either way, it could be a very quick day because we've seen today 12 wickets fall. And it only tends to accelerate as the test match goes on in terms of wickets per day.
Now, I'm the host of the show today. I'm going to give the reins to Kieran Powell as we are done for the day. And Kieran, why don't you do the wrap-up of the show?
Look at us tomorrow. Don't miss it. The best sports show, not only in Sri Lanka, all of Asia, and taking over the world.
How about some in Sinhala?
Mata bayai dang, eta pulang.
All right. We'll see you guys at the same time, same place tomorrow with another enthralling displays of play and analysis between the test match between Sri Lanka and West Indies. Until then, it's goodbye from all of us here.